Hi, I'm Rhob Serrano from 11 Deuteronomy. By this major performance task in 21 century literature, I will be applying 5 literary criticisms in the Footnote to Youth story by Jose Garcia Villa. First of all, let's have the summary of the story Footnote to Youth by Jose Garcia Villa. Summary of the story. Dodong, a 17-year-old boy, is impatiently waiting for his father to return home, sad that he can tell him of his love for Taeyang and his desire to marry her. He feels at 17 he is a grown man and ready for the next important step in life. Dodong asserts his responsibilities after having several children. They both began, Dodong and his wife Taeyang, bemoan through the solution of their youth, and the dreams come along with it. For the first one, let's have formalist. In this story Footnote to Youth, the protagonist Dodong, he lives in a unspecified area like farm with his mother and father. A hard-working teenager helping his parents in the plowing the fields with a carabao. For the second question is, in the Footnote to Youth, the conflict protagonists experience is when they got married at a very young age, nor shall I say, decided to get married at a very young age. Two young lovers face difficulty in marrying in life. Also, internal life, internal conflict life through Dodong, struggling if he can manage himself to have a family at a young age, that he's gonna be independent and can choose already to himself right and wrong. The third question is, in the Footnote to Youth, the protagonist's role in the climax is when Taeyang is about to give birth and Dodong was about to be a father at a few moments. The fourth question for formalist is, when Dodong saw her wife Taeyang in the papag with his firstborn child named Blas, heard his first baby cry pierced him cruelly, he felt happiness and could not control it. For the fifth question, the setting relevant for this story is said brief reminder for us Filipino, but also for people in the world, especially for the youth of teenagers today, to be reminded what life really is hard today. It is also like showing how hard life it is for young parents. For the theme of the story, are this is ignorance of youth or we call teens, changes in life of how hard it is, and decisions, fear age of rash decisions. For the second literary criticism is reader response. For the first question in reader response is, I feel about this text is showing us how teenage pregnancy is hard at a very young age and teaching us a lesson. I liked about this text because to remind teens how life hard it is being parents at a young age. The second question in reader response is having a hard time, or how can I tell to my parents my problems and how can I open up to them. Decisions I've made through myself without hesitant saying it through my friends instead of my parents through my problems or concerns for them. Third question in reader response. Because to show and make us remind to also show lessons through and other teens how hard life is in being independent. Also, maybe the author has also experienced this type of life, that's why the character acted as they did to the story. Fourth question and reader response. In a similar situation, I wouldn't just speak through my parents, which Dodong experience. I would hide the truth until the right time comes for me to tell them. Fifth question in reader response is, we readers who read this selection or story because We are the target audience of author's story that we want to read his text or story. The author should make his text more attractive, and we readers should understand everything the author written to his story. For the third, literary criticism. For the third is archetypal criticism. For the first question is, for Dodong's starting point is helping in parents plowing the field with a carabao, a hardworking at first point teenager. Last his endpoint is about to be a father, ended up not being independent and still with his parents. Second question for archetypal criticism is, reminds me of last grade 9, tackled the story also about teenage pregnancy but a different story. A girl got pregnant also by his boyfriend, ended up the girl telling her mom and dad. Third question for archetypal criticism is, in a rural area where they work as farmers, and it tells a couple getting married at a young age. Also, it conveys people will always go with their feelings without even hesitation. That will be a right or wrong idea. When they have decided it, they're regretting it at the end. Why did they make that decision? It's like on a computer. Think before you think. In real life situations, we decide to think before we do that kind of thing. So the fourth question of archetypal criticism is, pacing it through other protagonists and showing us to people that what it means to be in their situation on life. Also, decisions being made seriously without hesitation. For the fifth question in archetypal criticism, the symbols and archetypal reminds me of people with their upper lips that are dark and have mustache, are maniacs and don't think enough for is it wrong or right. For me, they are the people who makes quick decisions without even thinking for other people's feelings for them that I have read through other texts and stories. For the fourth criticism, we have feminist criticism. The first question in feminist criticism is, the protagonist's attitude to male and female are first his father mad at first but ended up at his dad not feeling guilty anymore. To females, her mom and wife caring them and not feeling guilty anymore. My response to the characters are sometimes being mad and good, which we all do to other people and, and in real life situations. Second question for feminist criticism is, woman represented in the text, Taeyang Dodong's wife and his mother, they represented careness, respectfulness, kindness, and especially loving to their child, just like us to our parents in real life. Third question for feminist criticism is, if I would rewrite the author's text at the ending, it will be the female protagonist Taeyang will not get married to Dodong until both protagonists turn at the right age for their planning to get married. For Dodong, he will tell to Taeyang that he will wait until they would be legal for them at the age to be and to have a own family and being independent through them. For the fourth question in feminist criticism is, restricted on the age of having an own family and doing their own concept of things coming through their children's, also showing to other people how hard it is being a woman in having a own family and being independent. For the fifth question in feminist criticism is, women exercise their power in the text, showing love and care to their children. Even when children have wrongdoings to their parents, it's just okay because parents really show love through their children. For the last and fifth criticism we had is Marxist criticism. For the first question in Marxist criticism is the way he wrote it that made him feel in that situation, replacing the characters' lives and points of views. Also, the author might have experienced the theme through the story. For the second question in Marxist criticism is how does this power operate and change as the text progresses? In the story, no one has power. They just work on a farm and life is easy. They're not quite haggard. First, Todong was helping plowing fields with Carabao, then suddenly changes when he became a father. All house chores were made by his mom. For the third question in Marxist criticism is talks about being obeying our parents that commands us. It talks about us people and especially to teenagers, just like Dodong making his commands to be followed instead of his parents because our parents know more a lot of things than us. Fourth question in Marxist criticism is when Dodong was about to tell his father that he wanted to get married by Taeyang, Dodong's dad was oppressive to his son by telling it without effort. Fifth and last question in Marxist criticism is the characters' response to all of the setting theme and their particular roles in the story. The effects their option for changing is by one's discipline when talking about family taking it seriously. Also by how the roles appear in real life situations changing one's needed through our real life situation.